Coach, what you have to say about your the play of your offense tonight?
Defense played well. Defense played well. Offense, we gotta step it up. We didn't play indicative of who we are. We have so many weapons, but we fell short on several opportunities to get in the paint today. Thank God for the field goal unit. The defense were phenomenal.
Tiger fans, welcome to episode 267 of the official Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club podcast, bringing you all the latest news, updates, and buzz surrounding your mighty JSU Tigers. I am the Corey C. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast to be notified of all future episodes. Apple Podcast and Spotify video users, rate and review the show. And everyone, go follow Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club on Facebook and Tiger Talk 1400 on Instagram and Twitter. It all helps the cause, which is the I love Jackson State University. And we are back in the booth. Ken Clark, Zoe, what's good, fellas?
What up, D. Corey C? What up, Zoe? What up, Tiger Nation?
What up, Ken? What up, super producer Corey C? What up, the I Love family?
Yes, sir, fellas. The finale of the Southern Heritage Classic. It has possibly, we don't know. We think it finally came to an end, but this game, man, we've been talking about dominating, and we came out in week one and completely dominated those FAMU Rattlers, and we thought that we could look forward to the same type of performance every single week, but not so fast, my friend, right? This game, it was like a throwback. I thought we were back in 2021, the same script, right? Start slow, struggle, play with our food. Defense saves the day, and we finally pull away in the end. The only difference is the special teams carried us as well throughout the game. But I wasn't expecting that. But, hey, Coach Eddie George, like Coach Prime said at the end of the day, we probably shouldn't be too shocked, especially consider how they played in game one. But initial thoughts on this game?
Well, for me, I really feel like through the course of the game, I think we dominated. But, I'm actually glad that we had this type of game. I think we're going to benefit from having this type of game. But I can't really say we look lethargic because we moved up and down the field. We did some uncharacteristic things on our own behalf. So I think we had a good showing despite of. But I'm glad we had it because there's a teachable moment, things we can learn from, and I think we'll be good going down later on within the season from having this type of game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zoe called it a character building game. I wasn't too happy about it because I think my expectations was I got that from our head coach, man. We want to dominate. And I saw opportunities for us to make a statement, and we left a lot of points on the board. And but I'm not going to be more frustrated than the coach and the players. I know they're the ones I'm pretty sure they know they left a lot of meat on the bone last night, man. So my initial thoughts were it just seems like when one goofy thing starts to happen, it just kind of carries on. But I will say, man, just heck of a job by the defense. I mean, to shut out another team, another blue blood HBCU, another top program 2 weeks in a row, not give up a touchdown, and even more impressive, they gave up their first three. They gave them 3 points on the first drive. So to completely shut them out after that is just super duper impressive. I think we got a lot of takeaways from this game. Maybe the quick turnaround, maybe the early arrival in Memphis. We don't know, man. But overall, games like that, you just want to win them. Honestly, when you see it going that way, the goal is to just Al Davis that thing, just win, baby. You got to get out of there with a win. So that was my initial reaction, but a lot to take away from, and hopefully the coaches and the team will get it cleaned up. We'll progress towards Grambling.
Yeah. Zoe mentioned it. We, from a stat standpoint, we dominated this team. We moved the ball up and down the field. 418 yards of total offense. It was pretty balanced. 276 through the air, 142 on the ground, but obviously some unfortunate events throughout the game didn't allow us to cash in. Me personally, I was never worried. I was comfortable, confident the entire time. They could not move the ball on us, and we easily moved the ball up and down the field on them. Obviously, a turnover here, things didn't work out, blocked field goal, unfortunate things. But I didn't think that would persist as long as it did. It persisted a little bit longer than I thought. But we have to start with one that I think was the first turnover, the J.D. Martin fumble. That was not a fumble, right? He was down. So yeah, that kind of started things off on a negative note.
Yeah, he was down. We actually saw the review as well. I actually saw it today, paused it, and he was clearly down. And, the ball had already broken the plane. But I really feel like, in my own opinion, I think that was their form of a makeup call for that targeting call. That's what I truly believe. Because I feel like, that was, that targeting call, looking back, really wasn't a targeting call. And I just feel like this was a makeup for that because of how bad that was. But yeah, man, we outside of the score, we dominated this team. It wasn't even close. And again, Corey, to highlight what you just stated, the fact that they get this one big play on their first drive, which is the only big play they had for the entire game. And then after they make that big play, we buckle down, hold them 3 points, and they don't cross the 50 again, but one more time the entire game. So defensively, we dominated. Offense, we rolled up the yardage, but we just miscues. And every miscue we had was self-imposed. And that's the thing that really makes you pull your hair out. And I feel Ken's pain because Tennessee State did nothing to garner or cause a mistake on our behalf. So that's the thing that's frustrating. But yeah, we clearly dominated them.
But does that make you pull your hair out? Would you rather it be self-imposed because you can clean that up, or would you rather it not be? Right, when it's a personnel issue.
I'd rather it not be.
But then it's probably a personnel issue.
I'd rather it not be because then it's two defenses, and we could say that Tennessee State stepped up to the plate, and their defense caused us to miscues. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just the balance of having a tough game and a tough opponent. You know what I mean? But all our concerns went out the way, for me at least. I can't speak for Ken, on the first drive because I saw then we're going to manhandle these dudes, and we did. But knowing that we got to the red zone time after time and time again, and we came up short to our own detriment was so frustrating.
I think the thing that, for me, I was the same way, Corey. I never felt like we were going to lose the game. The thing that was concerning was the consistent undiscipline. Me and Zoe talk about consistent discipline all the time. And for those, y'all know how I am, man. I want disciplined football. When you break it down, Coach Prime say, smart, tough, fast, discipline with character. I think we hit probably 2 out of the 5. I think we played tough. I think we played fast, but we didn't play smart. We didn't play discipline, and we didn't play with character. So I think, but I didn't feel that. So, the J.D. Martin touchdown, listen, man, I understand that he was down, but you got to hold on to the football. If you hold on to the football,
they can't make up the call.
You don't have to worry about the call going either way. The targeting calls, though, I disagree with that. By the rule, which is it's a funky rule, they actually got that call right. I don't like the call, but according to the rule, the new rule is you can't lead out with the crown of the helmet in the direction of the upper region of the body. And based off that, I don't know what you expect a young man to do, but it's a rule that just kind of put them in. Do he turn his head sideways? Do he go in and bump him with his shoulder? But the way that he went in, that's old school football. If I was playing football, I'd be kicked out every game because that's the way you tackle. But according to the rule, they got it right. They reviewed it and they stuck by it. So I don't know why they would have to make up a call that they missed, but we can get into the refs, but I think if we take care of what we take care of, then we don't have to worry about the refs doing what we do. The self-inflicted is what was frustrating to me. All the self-inflicted, unforced errors, it just seems like we lack focus, we lack discipline, and I fully expect the coaching staff to address that, and I expect the team to come out and play much better going forward. And I do agree with you on one point. I would much rather get that game out of the way early than to have to wait late into the season when you get bored from dominating everybody. I think now they leave out of that game a little bit more humble. and they go and they buckle down and they don't, because 59-3 will make you feel like we Superman now, you know. Now you go 16-3, it's like, all right, we got to get locked in on what the coaches are saying. So hopefully that's the reaction from it, and then we see some domination again on Saturday versus Grambling. We'll be in the vet, by the
way. And Corey, I'd be remiss to bring up that first fumble by J.D. Martin. We have to remember he came in to replace Santee Marshall, who had just fumbled.
That's what made that fumble so frustrating. It's like his teammate he just put the ball on the ground, which we lucked up to get that ball back. Yeah. And it's only one ball on the field, man. And if you got it in your hands, you got to protect.
Got to protect it like it's a baby. But that leads me into my next point. Obviously, the fumble by Santee that got JD in the game, and then the fumble by JD that technically wasn't a fumble, that brought in Savion Wilkinson, a person we've been waiting to see. Talk about a spark plug for us. 63 big yards in the first half, finished with 81, but he showed us that he's everything that we had been anticipating. Shaq said it on our preview show. We talked about who's that guy who won't be in the starting lineup on day one, but by the end of the season, he will be a staple in that starting lineup. And what he showed, he definitely can be a guy who can carry the rock for us.
Man, look, I'm going to go ahead and say it, man. I'm going to sound like Coach Weeks talking about Jeremiah Williams right now. Coach tripping. He need to be started. I mean, man, look, Savion looked the part. And I got to give Shaq another point. Shaq said that boy can catch that ball in the backfield.
That's another thing.
Shaq said it. And
that's a huge bonus.
And he looked good doing it. Looked like a natural. But, man, look, yards after contact. Man, he showed some great, man. That I think it was the second or the third run where he thought he was going to go down, and he carried some guys without the help of the lineman. He played with some vigor, man. He played with an attitude. He's a pocket rocket Walter Payton. Not to steal Warren Newman's thunder, but he's a miniature Walter Payton out there.
And we went to him on fourth down once, and he converted, which was huge.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Hey, y'all know how I feel about running backs, man, and know my type. I think he fit the prototypical type that I do love. I did say he was going to be a big spark plug. I think we all kind of was thinking by game 3 that we would see Savion probably start. I think Shaq might have said that. I mean, but listen, you know, it was Tito's job to lose. I mean, anytime you're a starter, you earn that spot. So the fastest way to lose a position is to unforced errors on your part, and you can't give the ball away. So the worst thing to happen if you play sports, I've been in a situation personally where I didn't play very well, and the person behind me got in, played extremely well, and I never saw that position again. So it happens to the best of us. So a game like this, where the elements is gloomy. You need a physical runner. I do feel like the 2 fumbles by his 2 predecessors affected how he ran the ball, because Savion was running that thing like it ain't nowhere in the world I'm gonna fumble. He was toting that thing like all stop, man. He wasn't letting that ball get away from him. But like you said, Corey, great point, man. I would love to see him go to him a little bit more. I think sometimes when we get in the red zone, we gotta just ride that wave and get out of that shotgun, give it to your house. But trust the coaches in what they saw. Happy that Savion has emerged to be everything that they said he was. And I'm happy he's in the Jackson State Tiger uniform.
I am too.
And you mentioned him catching the ball. I want to get your thoughts on Shedeur and his performance. Obviously, especially coming after that big game that he had against FAMU. He spread the ball around again, double-digit receivers. I think it was 11 on the day. I was shy of 300 yards, only 1 touchdown. Shane Hooks came up big with 9 big receptions. So, again, he showed that he continued to spread the ball around. But what was your take on how he performed against Tennessee State?
Against Tennessee State, I think Shedeur would have had a carbon copy of last week if not for the drops. You know, yep. and also to add what I mentioned earlier, character building game for him as well. You know, whenever you have a dominant team, especially when they tend to, let's say we do win this game yesterday, 59-3 as well, and we're constantly dominating teams, you don't know how you're going to be. When you have success and you don't have any adversity for that success, it's kind of hard to know how you're going to be when somebody punch you in the mouth. You know, or what have happened if we get down in the game? You see what I'm saying? Because we never had that resistance. When we got there with Tennessee State, I think he got shooken up on the targeting call. but my man bounced back. You see what I'm saying? He showed some courage. He showed some moxie. He showed some strength. He showed toughness. And again, he stood there. And you know what? The line didn't play up to standard this game as opposed to the first game. But again, Shedeur being able to move. I think it was sacked, 3 times, you guys? I think it was sacked 3 times. But being on the move, looking downfield, hitting guys, you know what I'm saying? And again, just having drops or getting catches and having fumbles. So it was contagious the way we were playing on offense. But Shedeur stood there. And again, if not for the drops, I honestly think if you look at the depth of some of these passes, I think Shedeur actually have a 400-yard passing game if he gets all these completions.
Think so?
Without question.
You think so, Ken?
Yeah, he had 14 completions. It was along with Dallas Daniels.
Yeah, I was going to say that, actually. I was going to say that I think Shedeur's stats, I think he did what he does. I mean, in a game like that, where the weather holds, I mean, it feels a little wet. You didn't think that – we all thought it was probably going to rain, so I was happy to see that it wasn't raining and he could still air it out. I think the thing that affected him was the drops, like you said. I think Shedeur had 4 touchdowns and he got over 400 yards if those passes are completed. He got 2 drops and then he had 1 touchdown that was negated by a penalty. And if we get that push on the line, he's got 5 total touchdowns. He got 1 rushing and he got 4 passes. So I think the things that we talked about, the mishaps, is what affected that game. But I like Zoe's point, man. Another character building game. I like what he had to say about it. I feel like they were prepared for it. It just got, like he said, we got to just execute and make a play when our numbers are called. And I thought he did it. I thought he had a pretty good game. He didn't give the ball to the other team. So for that, you can be, and he hadn't done that in 2 games. So do we expect him to be 17 for 17 every game? Now, it's hard to do that. But I will say one last thing. That first drive before he had that overthrow, he was clicking. He was. I think he was 6 for 6 maybe.
Yes.
And I was impressed with Coach Bartolone going out and not running the ball out the gate, just straight airing it out. I like to see that. So it was a nice little change up. But Shedeur did his thing, man. He just needed a little bit more help from his teammates to get his stats up to first game stats. And
he's fast approaching 100 attempts without an interception. So one of the few quarterbacks in the country to reach that stat.
Right. Zoe, you said the offensive line didn't play up to standard. So I'm going to play devil's advocate. What is the standard? Like which week 1 or week 2, what's the real offensive line? Because it's such a small sample size. So someone may say, well, they played over their head in game 1. So this is the true offensive line. So how do you know that this wasn't up to standard?
I would say, according to what the CEO of this team states, and that is we're here to dominate, and we did not dominate the D line. So we can sit here and say, we play above the head. Well, no, because again, the call has been made. Dominate. Dominate means we're going to have a game without any sacks. Shedeur's not going to have that many pressures. He's going to be clean. Last time I checked, you saw the end of that game, his dirty one clean. And he damn sure would sit on the sideline with his jewelry on. So again, you know what I mean? So that way, no, we didn't dominate. So no, they didn't play up the standard. The standard is to dominate. Dominate as an individual, man per man, dominate the man in front of you. And Shedeur was under quite a bit of pressure last night. They played good. They played, I would say, I would give them a C. They were average. But we didn't play up to even the standard what we had the previous week. And FAMU was perceived as a tougher opponent. And Tennessee State they came with it, did a few things. So we got to go back to the drawing board. As my man Ken would say, practice is going to be very interesting tomorrow. And we'll go from there.
I bet practice was interesting today.
Hey, you're right. Forgive me, Ken.
But let me say this, though. You never want to do anything as a line that's going to cost you points. The mishaps. You definitely want to. It's one thing to have it to happen. It's a whole nother thing to take points off the board because we didn't do what we needed to do. The other thing is that I think we can throw that out. I think we can throw the FAMU's defensive line better than Tennessee State statement out the window. Tennessee State got a serious defensive line. That team was extremely physical. And even I had that wrong because I wasn't too impressed with the Eastern Washington game. But I tell you right now, man, that team last night that we played against, man, was extremely physical, and that D line was getting some really good push, and they won at the point of attack a lot of times. So I mean, a C plus, B minus, maybe, that's a grade you can give them. But to Corey, to your point, I agree with Zoe. The standard is to dominate. The standard is to be more of like game one, where you have those moments. Did we have some mishaps in game one? I'm sure we did. Are we going to be flawless every game? We probably won't, but that's the expectation. So, so yeah. At the end of the day, we still had over 100 yards rushing, and we should have had over 300 yards passing. So you can't, they did. There was a couple of plays where you could say maybe Shador prolonged the play a little bit. Maybe did he start seeing? Did he get happy feet? Is that on the line? I mean, a line can only block for so long before they start getting holding.
I think Shador thinks he can make a play out of nothing because he is unfazed when he's under pressure and he's 10 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. I think he can get it. He thinks he can get out of any situation. Usually he does, but it's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, overall, just a average game, man. But I think the expectation is game one and beyond.
Mm-hmm. So on the defensive side, another dominant performance, man. It's becoming an expectation for us to shut teams out and for teams just to not be able to move the ball on us. I mean, this is unprecedented. You just don't see this. Even, whenever we say Alabama on the show, people, oh, here they go, Alabama. No, not comparing Jackson State to Alabama, but from a dominant standpoint, as dominant as they are, I don't see them consistently keeping teams out of the end zone. Their opponents usually score a touchdown or two on them. This past weekend, we don't even get in that game, but you know what I mean? So this team is not only keeping teams out of the end zone, teams are having trouble getting first downs. Teams are having trouble crossing the 50-yard line. This team had 8 sacks, 4 by Niles Gaddy. What else can we say about the defense? And that's why I wasn't worried, right? My mom, who's not a big football fan, but she doesn't understand the game, but she's watching it and she's worried. Man, I'm worried. I was like, Mom, look, notice this. We're moving the ball up and down. We're not punching it in. Right? We need to score points, but we can easily move the ball up and down the field on them, but they can't move it on us. Notice this. And once she saw a few series, she's like, you're right. They can't move the ball on us, but we can move it on them. So Dennis Thurman, A+ again.
I'll tell you guys what, man. It's a made up stat by me, but it applies. We've only allowed in 2 games our opponent to cross the 50-yard line 3 times. We're average giving it up 3 points a game. So that's a point every time they cross the 50. That's what our defense is doing. We're giving up a point each possession they cross the 50. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. And we speak to earlier, we spoke to Ken, a while back about, well, who's going to fill this role for James Houston, right? You don't want to call and said, hey, Niles Gaddy is my dark horse. But I've been high on Niles Gaddy too. And right now he's leading the conference in sacks. And we also said, man, this is going to be spread around. Man, we play so many guys on the back end and at safety and at linebacker. It ain't even funny. It's hard to keep up with the players coming in and out of the game.
It's hard.
And everybody is contributing. I got to say this, and I'm going to let you go, Ken. Jeremiah Williams balled out against Tennessee State. He balled out. And this kid didn't even play last year.
Yeah, I was happy to see him, too. Keep going.
He balled out this game. We try our best to warn everybody who could get an earshot of what we're saying about this defense. And we said it earlier, Corey. Hey, this defense will be better than last year's defense. Yes, I know it sounds like hyperbole. The defense that led the nation in sacks, that was one of the best on third down percentage. I mean, this defense has so far lived up to the litmus test in 2 games against 2 tough opponents. Now you got Gremlin coming in, and I'm even more excited to see what we'll do against a heavy rushing attack that we'll play, coming up this next game.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say, man? A team that hasn't given up in 2 games, you play 2, I would say, top tier HBCU programs. Both of those programs got top 25 votes in consideration in the FCS polls. Both teams were expected to be pretty good this year. And for Jackson State to hold both of those teams scoreless, no touchdowns in 2 games, it's hard to do that, man. It's very hard to do that. I'll say this, though, Corey, to your point, to the Alabama reference, Alabama didn't look too hot on Saturday, man. And I was asking this question while watching that game. I said, man, I hope we don't have because it's rare to see a Nick Saban team that undisciplined make that many mistakes. And then you watch us play the game on Saturday, and it's like, oh my gosh, we look just so. For that reason, I say we did look just like Alabama. But anyway, the defense. I'm a fan of the amoeba style, man. I know, Corey, that might not be. I kind of like the interchange and the moving around, and it looked like organized chaos, man. And you don't know. At one point, I think we talked. You got 2 defensive linemen. You got 5 on the line, 2 rush, 3 drop back. You got Joker switching. You don't know. It's confusing, man.
6 DBs, 7 DBs out there.
But I tell you, man, like moms, like you telling moms, man, look, it got to a point where I was just happy to see the defense go back. I was getting so frustrated with the mistakes, man. I was like, man, just put the defense back out there. Because hopefully they'll get some points. I was hoping the defense get a strip sack or a pick six or something.
I know, right?
And they was playing just that well. So let's be real. In 2 games, fellas, our defense has scored more touchdowns than FAMU and Tennessee State on Combined.
14 points.
So that hat goes off to 21 points, actually. We scored 3 tugs. The block field goal, the block punt, the fumble for.
Okay, I was counting that as special teams. I got you.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That's true. That is true. That's right. 1 special teams and two defense. But no, man, hats off to Coach Dennis Thurman. I mean, he got that team prepared. And man, look, I think you're gonna see much more of that. I think they're gonna be at home in the vet. They don't have to travel. Hey, starting on the road ain't easy. To start 2 home games, two big classics.
Sure.
I like something that Kevin Coleman said, and he was like, hey, man, I think we might have been thinking about the first game a little too much. You had a quick early week, and then this was a good game to where the big players show up, made big plays, and I think the players are going to take away from that.
Practice this week, we kind of was moving slow. We were still thinking about last game, worrying about last game. We came through practice week slow. We finished practice week good, though. But we had to fight through adversity. I like fighting through adversity. This when the real players show up. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games.
And the defense themselves, you listen to Niles Gaddy, that team is locked in, man. And you go back to them videos of Coach Thurman challenging that defense. Everybody showed up. Everybody showed up yesterday. Yeah. And it was impressive. I think it's going to carry on as the season goes on.
The depth of this defense, we don't have to name the guys who are out. We did it last week and who are not playing. But we continue to rotate guys in and out. I want to say, are we literally 3 units deep in terms of quality players who could compete in the SWAC? Meaning our third string defensive unit could be a factor in the SWAC if it was a starting unit at full strength. At full strength, because we're not nearly at full strength. Travis Hunter didn't even play. Just
very
Corey,
much so.
We can make a starting lineup out of the players that didn't play.
There you go. Thank you.
I mean, that didn't even suit up. It's amazing.
Or that suited up but didn't get in the game for whatever reason.
There you go.
Let me add the caveat. Not only will we take the backups and start and have another starting lineup, but they'll be easily top 3 defense in the SWAC.
And they're sitting out. Or I don't want to say too much on Tiger. I don't want to reveal too much on Tiger Talk. Or we don't know their names yet. Or people don't know their names yet. How about that?
They don't. We do.
There you go.
But yeah, man.
Anyway, fellas,
3 deep is safe to say. 3 deep comfortably is safe to say at every position, I would say. I mean, that's 33 total players. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that assessment.
So and this is not to throw anybody under the bus from last season, any of our special teams players, any of our kickers, but just a black and white question. Do we win this game last season and I say last season because Mr. Automata wasn't on the team. So he scored 10 points for us. Do we win this game last season as we were constructed with no Automata?
With Automata, with last year's constructed team, we're undefeated in my estimation.
No. You're not getting my question.
No.
Thank you. You understand my question. What I'm saying is, do we win this game without Automata?
No.
Situationally, we're not in a good situation. We 3-0 going into halftime in this last year.
Yeah.
In my honest opinion, arguably we could easily be 3. It could be 3-3. It could be 3-0. Instead, it was 6-3. Like I said, the block field goal, that was on us. We missed an assignment, and it should have been 9-3, but instead it was 6-3. But to your question, I don't think so. I mean, I think based off of what we was under 50% on field goals made. We was even close to 50% on extra points made. So I don't see how I can sit here and comfortably say with a game where you need your field goal kicker to make 3 field goals. He was 3 for 4, like I said, including a block. But the field goal, the kicks that he got up, he made them. I don't think anybody that's in Tiger Nation would agree that would have been that way last year. So we don't have to single anybody out or throw anybody under the bus, but we've definitely upgraded at the kicking position. We appreciate Alejandro Automata.
No, without question. And you're right, Corey. I was saying, answering that question in reverse. I was basically saying that if we have Mata last year, we're undefeated.
You said we beat ULM without him.
Most definitely.
I mean, South Carolina State, that's a whole different discussion. I don't think it was a field goal kicker, but regular season. I get you. He was named the game MVP by the Southern Heritage Classic. So great job. True freshman, man, coming in making an impact.
Yeah, man.
Kudos to Automata. Si, senor.
Absolutely. Who else stood out in terms of, if we want to give out some game balls? We talked about Savion. We talked about Niles Gaddy. Who are some other names that stood out?
Well, for me, I would say I'm gonna say Shane Hooks, but we had a major fumble. Yeah, 9 catches, but he had that fumble, man. We're driving into the red zone again. It would prove costly. But I'm gonna give it's only one play, man, but it was a huge play for the time. I'm gonna give my game ball to Willie Gaines. And then to see what he actually did on the sideline leading up to that play, convincing, Coach T.C. Taylor to say, hey, I'm the guy to depend on me. I can step up and make a play right now and put this game out of reach, and then to go out right there and there and do it to seal that game. And he's a newcomer at that. I'm going to give my game ball to him. I know it's easy to go with Niles Gaddy because he was dominant, but, I'm newcomer, man. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Willie Gaines.
Man, he said about everybody, man. He touched on Shane Hooks. Those are the highlights of the game. I think just reiterating what he said, we touched on Savion. Savion was that dude. But I'm gonna go with somebody that y'all probably ain't gonna think about. I'm gonna go with Sam Johnson. And I'm gonna go with Sam Johnson for a reason, because Sam Johnson did a really good job of keeping the field. Now, granted, if we make the play on one of those plays, we should have made it the way we pinned them on the inside. But that field position, the special teams unit, man, just as a whole, this was a special teams victory, man. Mm-hmm. It was from a field position standpoint. Every time we were punting, I felt really good about it, because we got one punt where and it should have been a safety, by the way, but yeah, anyway, the point is that I'm gonna go with because we talked about Savion, we talked about Hooks, you mentioned Willie Gaines. I want to highlight the special teams unit. We talked about Mata because he played the game, but I'm gonna go with Johnson, man, because I'm gonna just show some more love to that 3-headed kicking monster, man, with Beza kicking off on he's doing the kickoff duties, and Mata's kicking the field goals, and Sam Johnson. Anytime we have to punt, man, that's a weapon right there. Zoe said that. That young man is a weapon. So think about it like this, fellas. Going forward, anytime we need to punt, anytime we need to flip the field, we got the right person on the job to do that, man. And I thought he did a really good job of keeping them pent up back in their own territory. Now that defense can go out there and do what they do, because they got a whole lot of green behind them, and they was able to really apply some pressure and get the ball back for our team. Because we always started in good field position. If y'all notice that. A lot of that has to do with punters putting them in bad position. Then when they punt, we might get a kick return, but we were starting at on an average of 40 close to the 50-yard line or even across the 50-yard line. We just couldn't convert.
Okay, I gotta give it to you too. I definitely think about it like that, but I love what you stated. You know, this was a special teams victory. When you said that, you know, you're right. That's exactly what it was.
No doubt, no doubt. Fellas, this is as we stated at the beginning of the show, this is possibly or probably, at least for now, this is the end of the Southern Heritage Classic in terms of Jackson State participating. Obviously, you know, this has been a tradition that we've always looked for, going to Memphis every year, but it's coming to an end. So just let's reflect on this series, some of your fondest memories, or just some of the games or moments that have stood out in this series.
Well, for me, man, I gotta be honest. I remember going to the last game in Nashville. I also remember going to the first Southern Heritage Classic, and you know, it's not good. The history is not good for me. It hasn't been kind, because I got to remind everybody, when we started the Southern Heritage Classic, we were up on Tennessee State in this series by about 8 games. We were dominating, and Tennessee State's a blue blood. We were dominating them in this series. And, you know, you go into 2000, that was the apex or the beginning or the genesis of our worst stretch in Jackson State football history. And so in that time, we always played them close, and we just have so many games in that series. We will play them close, we'll come out on the short end of the stick. But, you know, we ended up making the decision to, you know, hire a coach that remained nameless, and you guys know the rest of the history. And we just kind of, to give you an example, to go from 91 to now, and we were leading by 9 games, and to know that we gave up that whole entire lead pretty much tells you what the history of the Classic's been like for us. So we've had some successes. You know, we had the change of the game with 9/11, push the game back to November. You know, we have the, we had the game where Tennessee State was ranked in the top 5 when they had Leon Murray, and we got destroyed. But we have some success in this rivalry as well. So I miss going to the game. I miss Memphis, but you know, onward and upward, man. Jack State's moving in a new direction, moving on to bigger and better things, and rewriting our history, man. So I look forward to see what we got in the future, but, you know, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, respect to the Memphis. Listen, respect to Memphis. But let me say it like this. I'm happy it's over with. Jackson State is not in Memphis, and neither is Tennessee State. I would absolutely love to get Tennessee State in a home-and-home. So Jackson State, we can go to Nashville. Nashville is a booming city. That revenue needs to come into the city of Jackson. So I am ecstatic that the Southern Heritage Classic is coming to an end, if that be the case, because this is going to give us schedule flexibility. It always felt like no matter what, when we were scheduling, we always had that game sitting in the middle of the schedule that would either minimize us and make us have 4 home games, or in years where we could have had 5, we can only have 4. And on years where we can only have 5, now we can have 6. So, but as far as the memories, I would say one of my best moments at the Southern Heritage Classic was Casey Terrio. White Tiger was playing quarterback, and we went down in a hostile environment. They was a pretty good team, and that was one of the first times we had won in quite a while. Like to Zoe's point, we were losing quite a bit, and I didn't make every trip to Memphis. After a while, it got stale on me, and I just basically, I would just skip that game for probably another game or whatnot. So, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, the Southern Heritage Classic will be fine. They can continue it on or whatever they want to do with it. But I like what Coach Prime said. You know, it's all about good business and making sure that, you know, everything is in the best interest for the players and the institution. In the end. So, I mean, a long 30-something year classic, but I am not pro classic. I am pro home game.
So pro Jackson State.
I'm pro Jackson State.
Whatever the best for Jackson State.
Yeah, man. I really do. Tennessee State as an opponent, I love it. You know?
Right.
Let's get that home and home jumped off so we can get.
But we can cut out the middleman. We don't need the middleman.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No doubt about it. So, that's my take on that, man. Looking forward to seeing what the future schedules are going to look like. I'm excited about that.
Also, I was going to touch on that too. I mean, getting out the Classic, we've heard the chatter about Jackson State not playing these perceived tough teams. Well, now getting out of this Classic opened up a game available now to schedule a perceived tough game or tough opponent that people may want to see us play.
Definitely. My fondest memory in the Classic, it was, I want to say 2000, entering that stadium, expecting to see T.C. Taylor at the helm as he had been the previous week, and the surprise, Robert Kent getting the start, the freshman. And man, that game was memorable. But I'll tell you, obviously we got the win. But I'll tell you one reason why it stood out. Obviously, that's when Kent became the starter. 4 year. We know the history of Kent. But I remember, obviously, T.C. Taylor was replaced, the quarterback. In this game, I want to say it kept going into overtime. I know nobody could make a field goal, and we finally won it at the end. But for whatever reason, when we won it, my eyes were on T.C. Taylor on the sideline, and I just remember him running to catch Kent, to chase Kent down and congratulate him and hug him. And I was like, wow, here's a guy who, for all intents and purposes, lost his job. We didn't know if he would, because at this point he wasn't a wide receiver. He's the backup quarterback, and based on that performance, you could see that Kent is probably the guy. Obviously he was raw, had a lot to work on, but you saw the potential. So there was definitely a chance that T.C. Taylor would never get that job back, and we didn't know he could play wide receiver. So this guy who could become a backup, but he seemed happier than anybody for Kent. So that told me a lot about T.C. Taylor and his character, and I'm not surprised he's doing such a great job just as a coach and as a mentor. But that definitely really stood out to me.
That was a good one, Corey. I totally forgot about it.
That's a great one right there.
No doubt.
Hey, so he had that question in the bag, so he could drop that one on us, man.
He did. I totally forgot about it, man.
I thought of it when I asked you guys. I thought about it. Normally, I ask you the question and I don't answer, so I wasn't planning on answering, but it hit me when you guys started. When you said Casey Terrio, I started thinking about Ken. Obviously, those two are almost synonymous. Did a show with him where they came together, brought them together. They met for the first time. Make sure you guys, viewers, go back and check that out if you haven't seen it. But that's why I thought about it.
Great show.
Definitely. All right, the vet. Pack the vet. Pack the vet. Home game. I can't wait. What are we looking at? 50, 60,000 on the? I don't mean just for the first game, but on averaging, Ken, you get to 50,000 this year.
I got us averaging 55K. I absolutely feel like this game is going to be north of 55K. Grambling got them a very convincing win against Northwestern State over in Shreveport. So they're gonna come in the vet with their head high and their chest stuck out. Man, I want them to come on to the vet with your confidence high. So I didn't want them to be 0-2 because I felt like if they would have got a win with Hugh Jackson versus Deion Sanders for the first time, now you're gonna see them come to Jackson. You're gonna see them come. Probably, I think they're gonna come. Maybe they bring 15,000. I don't know. Maybe they bring 15,000 again. But I think if they bring 15,000, we can bring 40. I know we can bring at least 40. So, and maybe more than that.
I'm really projecting 58,000 for this game because it wasn't so much that Grambling won, is how they look, the way they looked and how they won, plus the opponent they were playing, knowing that it's leading up to this game. Also, it was a great juxtaposition from the first game. So they saw growth because, again, your biggest changes from week 1 to week 2, and they saw that growth in week 2, and they exploded, say in one quarter as well. Also, Grambling is going to bring some fans, but you're also going to have a lot of novice fans coming to this game.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I believe this game is going to stretch at no less than 58,000, and I'm here for it. I'm excited. I won't be able to sleep on Friday. I will be there with Bills on.
Hey, man, I'll be in Jackson Friday morning, man. We got a lot of people that's new to the HBCU space that's coming. We got a tailgate, 1400 Club tailgate popping off. We got a lot going on, man. It's first home game. Everybody's going to be at least at that one. And then you got Grambling coming to town. So, the G men. And
we haven't beat them at home since when, Zoe Historian?
1999.
Unbelievable. Well, when Coach Prime took over his first game that he doesn't consider a real game because it was the spring, right? But it was a game. We went to Grambling, and at that point we hadn't beaten them at Grambling, and it was a while as well, right? It's the same.
About 16 years.
So got to do the same. Definitely. All right, fellas, we will see you in Jackson. Tiger Talk. We'll definitely do something. We'll be together. We know Tiger Talk, the crew. We're all over. That's a great thing. The ironic thing about Tiger Talk, everyone's coming from different states, not in Jackson. So it's rare for us to all be together at the same time. So looking forward to this weekend, guys.
Yeah, one more thing, Corey, though, before we get out of here. Had a alum hit me up and said, when y'all go on your show, make sure you tell Tiger Nation October the 8th, man. Make sure you go get your tickets for the Alabama State game. And this was somebody called me and said, make sure you put it out there because they use the same system we use, Corey and Zoe, and that's their homecoming. So those tickets are going to be selling pretty quickly. So make sure. I just wanted to throw that out there for those that I know we got our home game is coming up this Saturday, but he was saying don't wait until you get down the road to try to get that game because it is their homecoming. And he specifically made mention of October the 8th versus Alabama State in Montgomery. Go to the website and go ahead and start buying them tickets for them away games too. I just thought I'd throw that in there before we got out.
Appreciate it. All right, good stuff. All right, fellas, we will see you in Jacktown. Let's go.
Let's get it. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I love.
And that'll do it for episode 267 of Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club. Thank you to all of our listeners. And again, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Apple Podcasts and Spotify video users. Rate and review the show. And everyone, follow Tiger Talk with the 1400 Club on Facebook and Tiger Talk 1400 on Instagram and Twitter. We're looking to do some big things with this platform to aid the athletics department, and it all starts with you. Downloading, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show. And tell every Tiger that you know. We're on all podcast outlets. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Video, YouTube, and so on. And we'll be posting each episode on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. As always, thanks for your support. Go Tigers. Hashtag I believe. Hashtag pack the vet. Hashtag the I love. Thank you.